And this is the most shameful story in my life so far. I think it would be close to lots of girls, as it's telling about my first period. I am laughing a lot remembering it now, but at the time I was absolutely sure that my life was over. Please don't laugh at me. I come from a very religious family, and my parents are never keen on talking about physiological or affective matters. My mom loves me a lot, but I think she was terrible. My first thought was that I needed to ask for help from my parents. But the idea of coming out of the bathroom, going to my mom and trying to explain what has happened to me, including naming my intimate parts, was absolutely painful. Asking for dad's help wasn't even an option. I had no siblings to consult, so even being really scared, I decided to wait, and maybe it would pass on its own. I went to school but really couldn't concentrate on studies. I was just listening to my body and trying to understand how grave my condition was. It didn't occur to me to ask the advice of my classmates. It was still too shameful to mention where the stains were coming from. A couple of times I went to the toilet and saw some new brown stains. I didn't feel bad though, so I thought I could wait for some time before panicking. In the evening came the pain, that awful dull nagging pain that any girl knows. Now I knew it was time to panic. I opened the internet bravely and searched for stomach pain with blood. At 11, I wasn't very strong at anatomy and was sure that stomach was wherever in the belly. You understand that an ulcer was the most optimistic option I got. Okay, now I knew I was going to die, but asking for help still seemed too shameful. I decided to sleep it over, but obviously, during the night, I didn't get any sleep. I went to school all nervous and panicky because that morning I had checked and I still got new brown stains on my underwear. My condition didn't get worse though, and I got distracted by my classes after all. Until at math class, I felt something wet and ran to the bathroom. I found Niagara Falls of flaming red blood. I nearly fainted. My hands trembled and I was sobbing hysterically. What I did was run to our nurse's office and claim that I am bleeding. I have an ulcer and I'm going to die. At that point, I was not ashamed to share my problem anymore. At first, the nurse got really scared. But then, as she asked me in detail what bothered me, she was visibly relieved. I don't want to disappoint you, but I'm afraid you are not going to die. You are just having your first period. A what? A period. Don't you know what a period is? She was pretty surprised by my ignorance, but explained patiently what it was and how to deal with it, and also gave me some pads for a start and explained how to use them. Obviously, the news I am not going to die made me totally happy. But as I was going to leave her, she asked me if I could ask my mom to visit her for a talk, in a private way. After giving my mom news about my first period and seeing her somehow embarrassed, I passed her the message from our nurse. I had no idea what they were talking about, and was just enjoying my newly regained healthy life. Only in several years as my mother was telling me about my sexual life, visibly feeling uneasy about that, she confessed that our nurse told her that making talks on physiology is crucial for teens, and that she insisted my mom would overcome herself and find the way to explain some important things to me. I am thankful to our nurse, as now I understand that there is nothing shameful about our body, and if we have some questions we need to ask, not keep them to ourselves. And also, it is always better if parents answer our questions than any other person who doesn't know us as well as they do.
Hello, and sometimes I remind myself of the Incredible Hulk, only it's not as cool as it sounds. Before, I was a little boy who always laughed, smiled, and made everyone around me happy. And then, bam! I am a teenager who always wanted to sleep, tries to hide his acting, and most importantly, is constantly struggling with controlling his anger. And I'm really not exaggerating. My anger issues got the better of me, so often that I was seeing a principal at school almost every week. How does it happen? Well, at first I get frustrated at something, like my situation at home, my grades, or even the fact that my pen broke. With each new event, the frustration grows like some kind of evil monster inside me. Next thing, my eyesight gets blurry and kind of white, and I'm either shouting at someone or throwing something. Although it didn't happen often, my classmates were often eagerly waiting for the show to start. It was funny to them when I started shouting at a teacher in anger. I guess it would be funny to me too, but I couldn't laugh while it was happening. I was walking on thin ice in school, because teachers were fed up with me. And I really tried to be on my best behavior, because otherwise I would be expelled. So I was staying calm. A car flushed me with water? That's okay. Just breathe. It'll be all right. I got a bad grade despite studying the whole night. No problem. It happens to everyone. People walk slowly in a narrow corridor, and I have to be fast to be in time for class. It's all right. But it wasn't all right. Each time I held anger inside me, the monster just grew bigger and, well, angrier. And in the end, something very bad happened. During one lesson, a teacher started to lecture me about being a bad student and how I should spend more time studying instead of playing video games. I held all the anger inside me, like all the previous times, but she continued. It went on, and then I snapped. As before, my vision blurred. And in absolute rage, I took a chair and threw it out the window. It went right through and fell down outside. That's it, I thought. My life was over. Next few hours were full of stress and scandals. Principal talked to me, teacher talked to me, my parents talked to me, and they decided that if something like this happened again, I would be expelled. I had to do something with my anger. I was ashamed of myself, and rightfully so. The principal said that if I'm so full of energy, I should put it somewhere where it belongs. She was right. In the next month, I tried several things. I read articles on the internet and books about anger management. I meditated, but nothing worked. It all changed when my dad told me that maybe I should try exercising, or something like that. Maybe it would help with my anger. I decided to try going to a gym. I went 3 times a week, putting all my energy into it, and coming home completely exhausted. For the first few weeks, everything hurt, and I only wanted to eat and sleep. But also, my anger subsided. Annoying stuff still kept happening, but it was much easier to remain calm, to talk with my classmates and teachers. If I felt angry, I informed my teachers that I needed some time, and they would let me out for a few minutes. But flashes of anger weren't happening as often as before. And even if they did, I always knew that in the evening, I would go to a gym and put my frustrations in something useful, productive. I can't say I'm the calmest person ever now, but I'm much better. I hope that in the future, after years of exercising, I will look like Hulk, not act like him.
Hi, everyone. I have a super enraging story here. Thing is, I'm going to tell you about my parents being a bit traditionalist about upbringing girls, and me having a hard battle against it. So, if you want to hear about inequality and unfairness, this is my story. I lived together with my parents and my older brother. He is just a couple of years older than me, and now we are both teenagers. My parents are very nice towards both of us, but this niceness is not the same towards me and towards him. Both my parents are more about a traditional approach towards family values. A man is the head of the family, the breadwinner, and a woman is obeying him. It is not as horrible as it sounds. I respect the choice of my parents. Unfortunately, it becomes a big problem when it comes to raising children. Don't think that Ed and me hate each other. He is a very good, caring brother, and I love him a lot. But I also envy him a great deal. Point is, since my early childhood, my parents have always been strict towards me. I was supposed to have a well-scheduled day, diligent studies, domestic chores, a couple of hours out with some approved girl-playing dolls under my parents' supervision. And home, not later than 7 p.m. It all sounds okay until you actually got to do whatever he liked with whoever he liked at any time of the day. I actually couldn't understand what's the drastic difference. Okay, he is a boy and is a couple